At Paris in 2015, governments committed to keeping human-made global warming below 2 degrees, ideally limiting it to 1.5. Climate model forecasts suggest that without rapid cuts in greenhouse gas emissions, we will pass the 1.5 degree mark as early as 2030. ASAR set out to examine the impacts of different levels of global warming on the semi-arid areas of 6 countries in Africa, where people and the environment are already sensitive to heat and drought. We found that average local temperatures in these countries are expected to increase much more than the global mean, and progressively faster at each level of global warming. Heat waves and extremely hot days will also become much more common. Some areas will get less annual rainfall, others more. But across all areas, rainfall will be more erratic, with longer dry spells, and more intense rainfall on days when it does rain. For example, the semi-arid areas of Kenya are not only expected to get more rain, but to have rainfall that is 25% more intense at 1.5 degrees and 34% more intense at 2 degrees. Flooding is likely to worsen, with flood-related losses and damages predicted to be 20 to 40% greater at 1.5 degrees. Increased flood frequencies in recent years suggests these changes are already happening, with the floods of 2012, 2013, and 2018 being particularly extreme. Water stress will increase across most semi-arid areas. Higher temperatures and longer dry spells will mean more intense droughts, and water levels in rivers, inland deltas, dams, and groundwater are likely to drop. For communities in semi-arid Ghana, where groundwater is vital, predicted decreases in this resource of 17% by 1.5 degrees of global warming and 25% by 2 degrees could have dire consequences. For communities across these semi-arid areas where livelihoods depend on crops and livestock, these local climate changes will pose serious challenges. Unless they adapt effectively, their rain-fed agriculture and livestock will become less productive, increasing the risk of famine. For example, in Namibia, the productivity of small-scale crop farming could drop by 20% at 1.5 degrees of global warming and by 40% at 2 degrees. More frequent droughts in Ethiopia could cause a 30% decrease in cereal production and a 70% decrease in herd sizes. Human health and well-being will also be affected. In Mali, at 1.5 degrees of global warming, there could be an extra 22 days per year of extremely dangerous heat stress and 37 extra days at 2 degrees. In Ghana, heat stress at 2 degrees of global warming will reduce productive work hours by 15%. Disease patterns will also change. In Ethiopia, new areas within the highlands will become suitable for mosquito breeding, causing malaria transmission to increase by as much as 76% at 1.5 degrees of global warming and 120% at 2 degrees. Climate change in semi-arid areas is real and is happening fast. The vulnerability of people, their natural resources, and their economies to even small amounts of global warming reinforces the need for urgent action to reduce global emissions in line with the targets agreed to in Paris. Africans need to push for more ambitious international pledges on emission reductions that will keep global warming below 2 degrees. At the same time, governments need to accelerate adaptation planning and prioritize early implementation to address the fast-growing impacts in these vulnerability hotspots.